Hello, I'm Andy, and I'm Outside Xbox's resident Evil Within expert. Or at least I thought I was. Straight after I finished the game, Jane quizzed me on the Evil Within story and characters, and it turns out I understood much less than I thought.
How do I explain this? Hang on, okay, so...
This is partially my fault for not paying attention or being a bit stupid probably, but in my defense, the Evil Within is pretty vague about a lot of things. Here are the 5 biggest questions we were left with on finishing the game. Massive spoilers, obviously, so with that in mind, let's get started.
So right. To what end has he linked all these brains together?
That is
it's
a good
not
question.
Clear.
Yeah, so...
Is it because he is crazy and evil?
Yeah, well, there is that.
Right, so we know that Ruvik, along with Dr Jimenez, was working on STEM, a system that would allow people to unite consciousnesses for various, presumably beneficial reasons.
For unspecified reasons. I'm not sure what the benefit of this technology is.
Well, what benefit isn't there to linking brains together? With
I don't know.
Telepathically, I assume? Not like physically, with like plumbing and whatnot.
Yes.
But Ruvik was betrayed by Jimenez and hooked into the machine as the main human test subject for STEM. Turns out that was a terrible idea because with Ruvik's angry, vengeful mind in charge of things, everyone who is subsequently kidnapped and hooked into STEM, that's the folk on the missing persons posters in the asylum, suffers terribly, dies and becomes a haunted wrapped in barbed wire and stuff.
Point is that it turns out when Sebastian and his team went into the mental hospital, he was knocked out by Ruvik, who has then hooked them all up to this sort of brain-sharing technology machine.
Yeah, I'm still a little unclear on this even now. Ruvik either somehow manages to manifest in the real world and kill everyone in the hospital to draw Sebastian and his team there, then hooks them into STEM somehow, as past Andy said in that clip, or, and I think this is more likely, everyone is already hooked into STEM before the game starts, presumably by Jimenez's organisation, which removes the need to explain how they were put there in the first place. It also explains Joseph experiencing what looks like a headache in the car on the way over. That's certainly implied by the missing persons posters for the main cast, as well as Sebastian that we find in the mental hospital, which indicate they'd all been missing for a while. Ruvik's whole plan is to get to Leslie, the young patient with a unique mind who is his only chance of escaping from the dream world, because as we saw during the ending, Ruvik is now just a brain in a jar. A brain that Sebastian has now stamped on. So that brings us to our next point.
And you fight the final boss actually on a giant brain.
Amazing.
You're running around a giant brain.
Amazing.
And it's Ruvik inside a sort of big brain monster.
Oh my god, so it's all loby and whatnot. Okay.
Right, and gooey, very sticky.
So we fought Ruvik and his giant brain monster on a giant brain and fired rockets at him because Resident Evil. You might be forgiven for thinking that's it. The evil that is resident, which is to say is within, has been defeated, let's all go home. But right before the boss battle we see Ruvik finally get his hands on Leslie, who instantly turns into a liquid which is pumped into Ruvik's brain. After the fight, when Sebastian climbs out of his STEM bath, we see the corpses of Jimenez and Connolly, and also what appears to be the corpse of Leslie, although he's zipped up in a body bag and we never see the actual body. As Sebastian exits the hospital, we get a brief glimpse of Leslie in the distance walking with a confident stride that is completely different to his normal shuffle, like a straitjacketed Keyser Soze. Sebastian then gets a Ruvik headache and Leslie is suddenly gone.
And there's no bait and switch, no fake ending where they're like, uh-oh, maybe you're still trapped inside the nightmare dimension?
Well, there's the question. The most obvious conclusion is that Ruvik has managed to use the mind of Leslie to exit the STEM world and now occupies Leslie's body in the real world. But is this even the real world? Sebastian's headache might indicate that this is still all just a hallucination. Either way, it's definitely left open-ended.
I can't exactly remember what happened to Kidman.
So, what's going on with Kidman? Well, Julie Kidman is very much the Ada Wong of The Evil Within. You start off initially thinking that she's Sebastian's rookie partner, only to later discover that she's working for the same organisation as Jimenez and might be responsible for putting the others into the STEM world in the first place. She knows that Leslie is Ruvik's ticket out of the STEM world, and as such, she seems to be trying to kill Leslie to stop that from happening. Not trying very hard, to be honest, but still.
It's not your fault. I'm sorry.
Stop. Later on though, we see her and her cleanup team presumably destroying evidence and taking out witnesses. She notices Sebastian is still alive, but tells the team to leave him alone, pretending that he is dead like Jimenez and Connolly actually are.
Leave that one. And those two. They're not going anywhere. No one can.
So what's her deal? Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to find out until the DLC. Bethesda has announced that Kidman will star in a 2-part DLC pack and will encounter unthinkable enemies and new areas that reveal hidden motives and harrowing evil. So no wonder I didn't get any closure from Kidman's story. That's all coming in DLC. Hooray for DLC.
But I don't know if I missed the resolution to that story, because it didn't seem like, I never felt like I found out exactly what happened to his wife.
So you might have missed a diary entry or something.
Yeah.
Through Sebastian's journals that we find throughout the game, we know that Sebastian was married to another detective called Mayra, and they had a daughter called Lily who died in a house fire. Mayra then vanished when investigating the fire and left a note for Sebastian saying she had gotten too close to the truth and enclosing her files. So where is Mayra? Is she dead? Was she hooked into STEM as well? And where are those files she talked about? Did Sebastian receive them in the real world, then head out to investigate Jimenez's organization, and that's how he ended up in STEM himself? Again, maybe it's something we'll find out in the DLC, but right now it's bugging me.
Joseph's done for because Kidman shoots him. But,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Joseph Oda is Sebastian's by-the-book partner who accompanies him for some of the game, usually getting shot in the process. Good job, Joseph. After Joseph is shot by Kidman, Sebastian refers to him as having been killed. But we don't see him die, never see his body, and he's not in the STEM baths at the end of the game. So what happened to Joseph? Why was he there in the first place? And is he really dead?
Joseph!
Different Joseph, Jill. So those were the big questions I had after finishing The Evil Within. No doubt we'll get some answers when the DLC releases, but in the meantime, let us know your theories in the comments below, and like and subscribe for more videos like this from outside Xbox. Thanks for watching!